Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Nick from Australia. Welcome to the Manly Warringah Seagulls 2021 season review. Hope everyone's doing well on this Tuesday night. It is currently 8 PM here in New South Wales. You guys have probably seen this video about 8:30 PM or something like that. But if you guys are new to the channel around here, make sure you guys go ahead and like this video. Comment your thoughts on the Manly Warringah Seagulls 2021 season in the comment section below. And most importantly, guys, hit the subscribe button. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. The Manly Seagulls, they finished the season off in 4th place on the competition ladder. They snuck into the top 4 after a abysmal start to the season. Also, if you guys, before I get into the video, if you guys would like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so. PayPal is in the link below, and also, I believe Super Chat is also there as well. So, without further ado, let's get into the Manly Warringah Seagulls 2021 season reviews. Let's go through the season they had. So we all know their start of the year was dreadful. They played the Roosters in round 1. They were beaten in that game 46 points to 4. Round 2, Manly were beaten by the Bunnies 26 to 12. Round 3, they were beaten 38-12 against the Dragons at Wollongong. Round 4, Manly were pumped by Penrith 46 points to 6. Round 5, things started to turn around a little bit. They finally got their first win of the season on a Friday night, 6 o'clock game at Central Coast Stadium. My good friend Pro Enzo Vids was at this game, so shout out to him. Also entertaining us as well, so shout out to them. Then Manly got a win in pretty much on full time with a DCE field goal, winning 13 points to 12. And then in round 6, it was the return of Tom Trbojevic, his first game of the season, and he pretty much destroyed the Gold Coast Titans single-handedly, beating the Gold Coast at Mudgee 36 points to 0. Round 7, Manly thumped the Tigers 40 points to 6. Round 8, Manly were beaten at Bathurst against Penrith 28-16. Round 9, Penrith were, hang on, what round? Well, it doesn't matter what round it is. Manly beat the Warriors 38 points to 32. And then we get to Magic Round, where Manly, they beat the Broncos, I believe it was round 10, Magic Round. They beat the Broncos 50 points to 6. I was at Magic Round, it was fantastic. And Manly destroyed the Broncos there, 50 points to 6 in a one-sided bloodbath. Round 11, Manly beat the Eels 28 points to 6 at Bankwest Stadium. And round 12, Manly were beaten by Newcastle 18 points to 10 in what was a bit of an upset. Round 13, Manly had the bye. Round 14, Manly beat the Cowboys without Tom Trbojevic 50 points to 18 after being down 10-0 early on or so. So a really good result there for Manly. Then in round number 15, they beat the Gold Coast Titans 56 points to 24 up there at Super Stadium on the Gold Coast after being down 24 points to 8. Round 16, they beat the Dogs 66-0. Round 17, they were beaten by Canberra 30-16. Round 18 or something now, they beat the Dragons 32 points to 18. Then they had a good win over the Tigers there, 44 points to 24. They beat the Sharks on a Monday night game, 40 points to 22. Then they were beaten by Melbourne in a really good game of footy here, 28-18. Then they just absolutely thrashed Parramatta, 56 to 10. Beat Canberra, 19-18. Beat the Dogs, 36-18. Beat the Cowboys in the final round, 46 to 18. And then in the final series, Manly were beaten by the Storm, 40 points to 12. Had a second chance thanks to the top 4. Beat the Roosters 42-6. And then Manly, they were one win away. They were 80 minutes away from making a grand final. And they were beaten by the Rabbitohs in the preliminary final, 36 points to 16. So, considering the start they had, Manly had a very, very good season. A poor start, a really good, a really good midway mark there. Round 5 onwards, they had a really good period. Then they had a period where they had Origin players out, where they were able to get away with a couple of victories, and that they lost to a couple of the big sides like Melbourne, and then they bounced back, and they had a really good back end of the season. So it was an incredible year for Manly. The former Tom Trbojevic, as we know, I'll get to very soon, was just simply out of this world. Having a look at some of their great wins and some of their bad results. So, some of their good results, obviously beating the Gold Coast there in round number 6 was a good result. Beating the Broncos in Magic Round 50-6 was a great result. Beating the Bulldogs 66-0 in round 16 was also a great result. And beating Parramatta 56-10 was another good result. Some of Manly's bad results of the season, obviously losing to the Roosters in round 1, 46-4 was a bad result. Losing to the Dragons was a bad result, 38-12. And I guess losing to the Storm in the qualifying final was a bit of a bludger as well. But if I had to pick out the best and worst result of the season, Manly's best win was obviously against the Bulldogs there in round number 16, where they won that game 66 points to 0. That was a very, very bad day for the Dogs. A great result for Manly. And Manly's worst result of the season, I'd probably go back to round 1, the game against the Roosters, losing 46-4. That was probably their worst result of the season. And Manly, they had a very good year. So they had a lot of good games and bad games, but obviously the game against the Bulldogs was their best win. The game against the Roosters in round 1 was probably their worst result. Let's go through their roster and see who had a good year and a bad year and an okay year. Josh Alloway, I thought he had a good year. Obviously had a few injuries, but I thought he was solid for him. Morgan Boyle didn't play much. I thought he was meh. Daly Cherry Evans was okay. He had a good year, don't get me wrong, but obviously overshadowed by DCE. But DCE for mine had a very it was a solid year. It wasn't great, wasn't awful. A solid year for DCE. Lachlan Croker didn't do anything great, but obviously did a good job at hooker for Manly. Nothing fantastic. Cade Cuss didn't play a whole lot. Andrew Davey got injured, unfortunately. Couldn't really play much. Manesi Fona, obviously wasn't playing due to the no-fault stand-down rule. Kieran Foran, I thought Kieran Foran had a really good season. Good to see Kieran Foran back, fit and healthy. I thought Fozza had a really good season. He was great for Manly. Tavita Funa didn't play a whole lot. Ruben Garrick was excellent. I thought he had a really good season. Jack Jajeski didn't do much when he played. Morgan Harper was good. Sean Kepi off the bench had some good moments. He also had a few games there where he started. He was solid. Hamoli Olakawatu was just amazing. Olakawatu is the future of the Seagulls back row, and I thought he was exceptional this year. He was great. Brad Parker, good defensively, but doesn't offer anything in attack, so he had a very up and down season for mine. Tanela Paseka was good. When he was fit, he was an absolute handful for the other team, so I thought Paseka was good for Manly. Jason Saab was terrific. He had a standout season. Josh Schuster had a really good first half of the year, then sort of got found out at the back end of the year. But definitely a good year from Josh Schuster, but needs to find more ways to interject himself into the game, and he just needs to create more opportunities and try and find that next thing about him that makes him that better player. So I thought he was solid. Tafawa Sipley was a very underutilized at the back end of the season. I thought he would have been good against Melbourne in the finals, and against the Roosters he would have been a big tearaway off the bench, but when he was there, I thought he was very good. Curtis Sheridan obviously had a few injuries, but he did his job fine when he came back. Moses Sulik didn't get picked a whole lot, but when he did, I thought he was good defensively. It's a bit of a concern, but his attack was a nightmare full of defense. George DeField didn't play much due to injury. I don't think he played a game at all, to be honest. Martin Tapau was very good. He had an underrated season. He actually ran the most metres in the forwards, surprisingly. Out of all the front rows, he ran the most metres, so Tapau was good. Jake Trbojevic was outstanding. Tom Trbojevic was unbelievable. Tom Trbojevic was just out of this world. Now, back to Jake Trbojevic for a second. Jake Trbojevic had a good year, but definitely needs to improve. Has a few things in his game he needs to work on, but overall, probably a pass mark for me. As for Tom Trbojevic, I mean, what more could he do? He was just out of this world. Best player in the world this year by an absolute country mile. I believe Turbo was the best player in the game this year, and I don't think it was even close. The closest thing to Tom Trbojevic this year was probably Nathan Cleary, but overall, Tommy Turbo was just on another level compared to the other players in the competition. Christian Tupulotua, can't pronounce his name, so I do apologise. Didn't play a whole lot. And Dylan Walker. Dylan Walker played really well when he was there. I thought Dylan Walker was extremely good for the Seagulls this year. Probably his best year in about 5 years, to be honest. So, for Dylan Walker was extremely good for Manly. Obviously, picking out their top 2 or 3 players for Manly this year. Obviously, Tommy Turbo stands out. I think the wingers, Garrick and Saab, stand out. And Ola Kawatu as well. Some of their poor players, it's hard to pick because Manly made the top 4 and had a really good year. But obviously not really a big fan of Brad Parker and Lachlan Croker, but they did some good things. If I had to pick out a worst player for Manly this year, I'm probably going to have to go with Jack Jajeski. Didn't really do anything when he played for Manly. I thought he was quite poor. But I'm going to stick with Brad Parker, man. I don't believe in him. I genuinely don't believe in the bloke. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and he'll have a big year next year, but I don't understand what Brad Parker did this year that was better than Moses Suli. Was it defense? Was that it? Is that the only attribute that Brad Parker had that was better than Moses Suli? Because Moses Suli in attack is 10 times better than Brad Parker. So I guess that's a question for Des Hasler. So I think they're going to regret getting rid of Moses Suli and keeping Brad Parker personally, but we'll see what happens there. So best player, obviously Tom Trbojevic by a country mile. The worst player, not really the worst player, but the player who I thought underperformed. I'm going to go Brad Parker. I don't think he performed at his absolute best this year. The year of the Seagulls, I thought it was a good year. It's going to be interesting to see how they go next year. If Turbo can stay fit, then Manly are going to be probably in the same position again next year, if not better. The problem with Manly this year was they could not beat the top four teams. They couldn't beat Penrith. They couldn't beat Melbourne. They couldn't beat Souths. But they could beat Roosters and Parramatta, who were up there as well. So I guess the goal for Manly next year is to try and learn how to beat these top 4 sides. And, you know, because going into the final series, a lot of people didn't believe in Manly because they didn't beat any of the top 4 teams. So I think for Manly next year, their goal will be to beat at least Melbourne or Penrith. They've got to beat one of them if they're going to be taken seriously in this competition. So overall, a pass mark for Manly without a doubt. If I'm giving that season a rating out of 10, I'm going to give that season a solid 8.5 out of 10. It was an incredible season. They were 0-4 to start the year. They were written off. They were going to come last. They were going to be bottom 4. Turbo came back, and next minute they make the top 4, and they are one game away from making the grand final. So a great year from the Seagulls, 8.5 out of 10. Turbo was their best player without a doubt. But guys, that's it for the Manly Seagulls 2021 season review. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you guys go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night.